Huge tsunamis destroy coastal cities and flood entire countries. Millions of refugees rush to the remaining untouched land. There isn't enough food or fresh water for everyone. Mass starvation begins, followed by wars. Some scientists say this is exactly what will happen to our planet in the near future. And this isn't caused by an asteroid impact or a supervolcano eruption, but by something much more ordinary: global warming. Researchers have discovered that from 2009 to 2019, Antarctica's plant cover increased more than it had in the last 50 years. Very soon, the white continent will turn green, and then a global catastrophe will spread across the Earth. What was happening to our planet millions of years ago? Why do scientists believe that ancient Antarctica was once covered with trees? What is about to happen in Antarctica for the first time in 100 million years? And why would the transformation of this icy continent into a jungle mean the total collapse of our world? Right now, Antarctica is a tundra, with places so cold that no human could survive without shelter. But global warming may quickly change everything, not just in Antarctica, but across all continents. Those who know Earth's history are aware that during the age of dinosaurs, Antarctica was a giant green forest. And now the icy continent is once again turning green due to climate change. Favorable conditions for mosses and algae are slowly forming. The process has already begun. In some places, the ice is not only green, but also red, orange, and brown. These are colorful mosses spreading rapidly. Green plants reflect less sunlight than the white surface, which speeds up ice melting. And what does that mean for us? Recent studies show that two of Antarctica's main glaciers, Thwaites and Pine Island, are now melting faster than they have in the last 5,500 years. Because of this, sea levels rise every year, and within the next century, they could increase by 3 or 4 meters. Glaciers in other regions of Antarctica are also disappearing at an alarming rate. Over the last 25 years, Antarctica has lost twice as much ice as previously thought, especially floating ice shelves. These ice shelves act as natural barriers, slowing the flow of ice into the ocean. Since 1997, about 12 trillion tons of ice have melted. Everything indicates that Antarctica is going back in time to when it was green. Paleontologists say the continent was ice-free during the Cretaceous period, 145 to 66 million years ago. The ocean could reach 30 degrees Celsius, and overall, Earth's temperature was much higher than today. Most likely, this heat was caused by frequent volcanic eruptions. Lava destroyed everything in its path, causing massive wildfires. At times, the entire region was engulfed in flames, and yet, life flourished. Antarctica was home to the ancestors of mammals, reptiles, early birds, and dinosaurs. In 1986, paleontologists discovered the remains of an ankylosaur on James Ross Island. These elephant-sized giants were covered in heavy armor, made of spikes and bone plates. Their tails ended with a club strong enough to break bones in a single strike. Later, on Vega Island, scientists found hadrosaur remains. These creatures grew up to 7 meters long and weighed around 8 tons. They had wide, beak-like snouts and hollow crests on their heads. According to one hypothesis, the crest may have contained flammable gas, and when threatened, the dinosaur could ignite it, breathing fire like a dragon. Though this theory remains unconfirmed, both were herbivores that used their features mainly for defense. But ancient Antarctica was also home to ruthless predators. Among them were mosasaurs, also discovered on James Ross Island. Their razor-sharp teeth and powerful jaws allowed them to tear prey apart with ease. They hunted marine reptiles, turtles, and even other mosasaurs. Over millions of years, Earth cooled, and Antarctica became covered in ice. But 56 million years ago, during the Eocene epoch, spring returned. The glaciers gave way to forests filled with palm-like araucarias, conifers, and southern beeches. These forests were inhabited by ancestors of today's armadillos and anteaters. On Seymour Island, paleontologists found the remains of an animal resembling both a horse and a camel. Recently, scientists also discovered the bones of unusual birds, giant pelagornithids. These massive creatures had sharp, bony spikes on their beaks, which they used to catch fish and squid. But eventually, these Eocene inhabitants vanished. Earth cooled again, and Antarctica froze, forming an ice sheet averaging 1.5 kilometers thick. It seemed no living creature could survive beneath such massive glaciers. But in the last decade, scientists discovered something that changed everything we thought we knew about Antarctica. Beneath the ice, they found vast canyons, rivers, and over 400 lakes. One of them is enormous, about the size of a modern city. Lake, named Snow Eagle, is 48 kilometers long, 15 kilometers wide, and 200 meters deep. Researchers believe that unique life forms may have been living there, isolated for millions of years. Some of these discoveries are terrifying. Scientists recently found a previously unknown species of leech that can grow up to 35 centimeters and triple its size after feeding on fish blood. German research has also drilled through 740 meters of ice in the Ross Ice Shelf and sent a robotic submarine into the depths. It recorded strange microbes, crustaceans, and bizarre fish with enormous eyes adapted to the darkness. The largest had translucent skin with its internal organs clearly visible. But if subglacial water warms by even a few degrees, these extraordinary creatures could vanish and Earth could face disaster. If all of Antarctica's ice melts, sea levels would rise by 70 meters, drowning coastal cities worldwide. If humanity continues burning fossil fuels, Earth could become almost ice-free, with an average temperature of 26 degrees Celsius instead of today's 14. The Atlantic coast of Florida and the Gulf of Mexico would disappear. San Francisco's hills would become small islands, and California's Central Valley would turn into a giant bay. London would vanish, as would Venice, swallowed by the Adriatic Sea. The Netherlands and most of Denmark would also sink. The Black and Caspian Seas would expand, swallowing surrounding lands. Asia would be hit hardest. Nearly 600 million Chinese people, 160 million in Bangladesh, and much of India's coastal population would be displaced. Cambodia's Mekong Delta would shrink to just a few islands. Australia would develop a new inland sea. Africa would lose less land, but rising global temperatures would render much of it uninhabitable. Even the Egyptian pyramids would be submerged by the Mediterranean. Millions would become climate refugees. But would there be enough food and water? Antarctica's ice holds 70% of Earth's fresh water. If it mixes with salty seawater, it becomes undrinkable. Ocean currents would shift, altering weather patterns and even tectonic activity. Megastorms, tsunamis, and volcanic eruptions could become the new normal. Fertile lands would turn into deserts, while others would flood regularly. Farming would collapse, food would become scarce, and people would fight over survival. Epidemics would follow. Ancient diseases like smallpox, plague, and anthrax could return, released from thawing permafrost. In 2016, anthrax reappeared in Siberia for the first time in 70 years, killing reindeer and infecting humans. And yet, not everything may be tragic. Once Antarctica thaws, its vast landmass 1/3 larger than Europe could become habitable. Refugees might settle there. The Antarctic Peninsula alone is twice the size of the United Kingdom. The continent is also rich in oil, gas, uranium, platinum, copper, and iron. But life there would still be brutal. Half the year would be shrouded in darkness. Swamps and lakes would dominate the land. Farming would be nearly impossible, except perhaps raising hardy musk oxen. So perhaps it's better if Antarctica remains frozen. Scientists are exploring ways to slow the melting of glaciers. Some propose removing greenhouse gases from the atmosphere or blocking part of the sun's rays. But these ideas could be dangerous. Researchers from MIT suggested creating a protective shield, a massive structure of thin, bubble-like membranes placed in space above Antarctica, at the Lagrange point between Earth and the Sunday. This shield would block about 1.5% of sunlight, enough to stop global warming. And if something went wrong, it could be dismantled. But for now, it's just a theory. So what do you think? Could humanity really shield Antarctica to stop the ice from melting and save our world from disaster?